Hello and welcome to the two-man Power Trip Wrestling host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest. You may know him as Spanky. He's a former WWE World and WWE Tag Team Champion. He is a former, technically interim WWE Heavyweight Champion as well. He is, of course, the Brian Kendrick. Brian, welcome in. How you doing?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me. How are you doing today?
Very good. What's going on in your world? What have you been up to?
I wrestle independently. I do shows based off of offers I get around the world. Sometimes, a lot of times, I'm wrestling for Micromania, which is a traveling midget tour. I play a foil who wrestles the midgets. It's a ton of fun and actually very, very popular. Um, I wrestle in Chile a lot. I'm going to Australia in a couple of days. I'm going to England and Canada coming up. So a lot of international stuff.
Wow, damn, that's amazing. You're still, going all over the globe and still traveling a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying to book every single weekend I can. And as of right now, I'm doing okay. So it comes in waves or streaks or cycles or circles or whatever. But yeah, chicken one day, feathers the next. Right now, I'm eating chicken, so it's
Have you ever thought about aging? You look the same as you did when you were back when I
good.
first saw you in 2002 in ROH. Have you ever thought about aging?
I haven't. I haven't thought about that. I guess I should because of that would mean I would then start planning and taking responsibility and making grown up decisions. But it's very kind of you to say, John. Thank you.
No, probably. I was like, wow, man, like literally 2002 ROH. I remember seeing you. Like, this guy looks, kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio a bit here, but man, you pretty much still look the same. You've been doing the same workouts. Like, how are you staying in shape and staying young?
Uh, I don't know. I appreciate that. I I guess I'm lucky. I don't stick to any real serious diet. I like to run, and I will lift weights, but I'm not like a lot of guys who really are super dedicated, and that's been to my detriment. Um, I don't eat a lot of junk food. I don't drink a lot of soda, but you know, I I I, I eat normal food. I'll eat lasagna and and not think twice or anything. Um, I don't know. I've been lucky as far as um, being short helps you look young, and if you maintain your hairline, that helps you look young. That's really that's the long and the short of it. If I was chubby or taller and had thinning hair, I would look old, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah, very good point. That's true. Now, now, as far as you and like training and stuff, are you still doing training? You still doing the school?
I haven't done a school at all this year. The last few years I've been doing the school. I've been lucky enough to, these facilities have rented me out time, and I haven't run a class itself in years and years. So at these facilities, my students would pay, $20 or $25 to whatever the building was charging. I would charge nothing, and as we lost buildings along the way, um, I can't afford to go find a building to where I could pay out and not charge old students. And so right now I'm like I said, wrestling against midgets or wrestling against guys around the world, and most of my training is just seminars these days.
Now it feels like a few years ago there was a lot of famous people wanting to be trained by you, right? I mean, like Bad Bunny, for instance, kind of one of your students, right? Kind of one of the guys that you helped.
Well, I was very lucky in the sense I got to be involved in his tag match and his singles match with Damian Priest. There was a lot of guys involved, guys before me, Adam Pierce, Drew Gulak, all the luchadors there got involved at one point or another. But I lucked out in the sense I live in LA. He did some training when coming out for the Grammys and wanted to continue his training. He was super dedicated. So that's when he and I got to know each other. And I think just my approach to the training, he seemed to like to the point that when he had his singles match, um, they requested me to be involved, even though I was no longer with the company. So that much was very flattering. But again, there's a lot of people involved, but I'm glad to have been one of them. And man, I thought the match was awesome. That singles match of his was incredible.
Man, when they talk about celebrities in wrestling, he's got to be one of the best ones that they've ever had. Like you said, with the dedication and stuff, him wanting to do it, him loving it. But man, he went above and beyond. I felt like for a celebrity.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's great. I think what he did was great. I think what he did was amazing. You know, I don't keep up with the modern product. This isn't to badmouth it. I don't keep up with modern anything. But I've heard a lot of stuff about Logan Paul being really talented. Um, to my understanding, he comes from a more of an athletic background. He'd be
Yep.
more inclined to do this. Whereas if you were to look at Bad Bunny as just a celebrity, not even a Floyd Mayweather, who's an athlete celebrity, just like a Drew Carey or any of these like Jay Leno, anything like that. I mean, really crazy what he went out and did. I thought really incredible stuff. Um, and in the scheme of things, I mean, just a mega star who did this because he wanted to do it because he loved wrestling growing up, um, and he used his celebrity to get to do wrestling matches. That's how much he loved wrestling. That's really cool.
Amazing. And like you said, that match in Puerto Rico at Backlash, that match, I mean, that's awesome. From the second he comes out to his theme song and the crowd is going nuts. I mean, from then on, it was like, man, this is going to be great. And it was way better than I thought it was going to be. It blew away expectations big time.
You know, everything was perfect for it. You know, that crowd, him in Puerto Rico, he walked out like you said, everybody there knowing all the words to the song, them taking so much pride in him being from Puerto Rico. Um, my goodness, man, it was great. That audience made it. Just like any match, if you were to switch the soundtracks with these matches, and if the audience is chanting boring, during Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, if you did that in post, it would make the match seem weird.
Hmm.
So the soundtrack, the audience loving everything, really helped. But the stuff was incredible. It was high risk stunts and great drama. Yeah, really fun match.
When they call you back in, right? Like basically, because you said you didn't work there. How does that go? Like they just randomly, like, oh, Bad Bunny was interested in talking to you again about doing a match. Like, how does that all kind of break down? That's awesome.
Essentially like that. It was that there's going to be another match. They're going to. Do you have a training facility? Can we do training at your facility? Nope, it's not my facility. The ring isn't the size ring you would want. He had I guess, got a rental house out here in LA. There was a ring set up in the yard up in Beverly Hills or wherever, somewhere like that, and the training in the yard, all tented off and stuff. But yeah, I got the call from talent relations, and are you available? Are you interested? Yes, and that was it.
What did you think about him? Were you thinking like he's athletic, but obviously he's not like built and jacked. So, but from your like experience, just like training guys, were you thinking like, okay, I got something to work with here because he's athletic. We've seen him do it before. Like, what was your thought process going into all that?
Well, so I don't speak Spanish, and he didn't speak much English, and so there's interpreters and stuff, but it's a lot of. I've been to Japan a lot. I've been to foreign countries where I'm just having to kind of talk through simple terms and general English that a lot of foreigners understand, and not that he's a foreigner, but you know what I mean, a Spanish speaker. Um, and so. Uh, what was I thinking is you know I want to make him comfortable. My thought was I want him to have so much fun doing this that he goes and tells Taylor Swift, "You've got to go wrestle." I want him to tell all the celebrities this was the funnest thing you can do. And so, um, but I didn't have to appease him in any way. He had a great attitude right away. And what do you want to do? And I don't know. And said, well, let me show you some neat stuff. You tell me what you like. And that blended with the training that Drew Gulak did, that Adam Pierce did, that everybody else, Angel Garza, uh, you know, everybody else involved. I don't know. He didn't complain once. He had a great attitude, and I'm grateful to have been a part of it.
I know you don't keep up with current wrestling, but
Mm,
they had a celebrity, Travis Scott, also singer,
mm.
rapper, performer. They brought him in, and apparently didn't go so well. So it's an interesting kind of thing with celebrities. Sometimes they don't mix, right? Celebrities in wrestling, but Bunny obviously did.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder who approached who in that. In I guess in either circumstance. Um, I'm guessing Bad Bunny had people get a hold of the WWE. That's my assumption is that he reached out to them. I don't know if that's the way it worked with Travis Scott, and I don't know. Who knows? Um, but it people have an impression of what pro wrestling is. They think it's fake. They think it's easy. It's all this, that, and the other, and that would be like thinking, I suppose, maybe that acting is easy. All you have to do is just remember lines and go out there and say them. But that's gonna look terrible, and wrestling has a physical aspect to it that's dangerous. Um, despite it not being um, collegiate Greco-Roman style wrestling where we're really trying to hold each other down. It's not as simple as that. And uh, I think if you're a longtime fan, you probably think it's hard, and if you're not, you probably think it's easy. Maybe that's it, but I didn't see any of Travis Scott's stuff.
Jelly Roll too. He just wrestled and not too long ago, and he was great. Obviously, not as athletic or as good as Bad Bunny, but so maybe Bad Bunny's influence is getting these other guys wanting to do it.
I mean, it's great. It's great. Uh, I guess that was my hope, and not that this has anything to do with it. That Bad Bunny told Jelly Roll, but I'll tell you what, if by some chance he did, that makes me really happy. Because that was the idea is that he has so much fun that he tells these other people like you got to do this stuff. I don't think you have to be um, super athletic to be a pro wrestler. I think that ECW proved that. I don't want to name any names or point out any guys as being unathletic, but you you didn't have to do what Tajiri and Psychosis and Super Crazy and any of these guys were doing to still be really over and tell a great story, with just a cane, or a chair or whatever, just drama and fighting from underneath and all that. There's a story that people can get involved with, and your weaknesses, your physical weaknesses are a strength in the story. That you are smaller, that helps the story. That now becomes obvious that you have something to overcome.
Now Ronda Rousey too, right? She was another one that kind of requested you and wanted you to be one of her trainers, right?
So that I lucked out because of through Roderick Strong, and him and Rhonda, they're friends, and she lived out in L.A. and she wanted to get into to seeing if she liked wrestling, and so because of our friendship and her friendship, and uh, yeah, it just so happened that yeah, she reached out and gave it a shot, and um, I really enjoyed training with her. Again, another one. I think just really uh, easy to train. They got it. They understood. I think they're smart people, and I think that's probably why they're so successful. Is because they're smart and I guess aware. Quick to grasp things.
Obviously, the experience with Rhonda is going to be a lot different than Bunny. So, what was the experience like with her? Like, because obviously she's got a extreme athletic background, not only judo but MMA champion as well. So, what was that experience like? How to be easier?
Uh, yes and no in that pro wrestling does a hip toss, and she does something I don't know the name of, but a something 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 with K's and J's and
Right,
T's
like
and I's.
some judo term, yeah, katami or whatever, judo katami or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly. So the idea was like, here's, I'm going to show you the hip toss and arm drag, pro wrestling style. You're gonna have to learn how to take these because this is what the women are gonna give you. And so you're gonna have to know how to take a hip toss and an arm drag and a headlock takeover. Now, what would you do? Oh, I would do this. It's a that. Just do that. And it turns out these moves are because of judo. You trying to throw a person onto the mat like that. It's if you just relax as a performer and take it, she's gonna throw you on the mat. It's not dangerous like pro wrestling in the sense that a body slam is supposed to throw you down hard. She's just whipping you down to the mat. Um, so it's just a matter of do what you would do in these situations where I would do these pro wrestling moves, and of course use your mindset and the storytelling. And again, since she's really smart and athletic, it made it easy.
It looks like you have on a TWA shirt. Is that the old Texas Wrestling Academy, the old Shawn Michaels shirt?
Oh yeah, it sure is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now I believe still run by Rudy Boy Gonzalez, my old coach.
Yes.
I use it to paint in and stuff like that. It's one of many.
That had to be an unbelievable class of talent. Obviously, Rudy Boy's a trainer, but Shawn Michaels School, technically, TWA, Texas Wrestling Academy, kind of all would somewhat become famous, I think, because of Ring of Honor, kind of was like the launching point. But Michaels obviously was a huge helping hand in that. What was it like with that class of characters? Because, right, it was London's down there, Clarence Cade, obviously the best in the world, Bryan Danielson. You got a ton of good guys coming out of that.
So yeah, so Paul wasn't. He was just a Texas guy at the time. Paul was not a
Oh,
pro
right.
yeah.
I'm putting them together because, yeah, you're right. Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian Danielson, Lance Cade, who since passed. There's a great wrestler. I mean, he was every bit as good as the other two, myself and Shooter Schultz. But after we got developmental early on in our career, um, I think he was 30, which to him seemed really old at the time when I was 21, Danielson was 19, Lance Cade was 19. And when he lost his job, we were all despondent. Danielson, myself, and and Shooter. Lance kept his job. Um, I think Shooter just never got back into it.
Danielson and you always had awesome chemistry. I mean, we're going all the way
Thank you.
back 2002 with him, just as far as like Ring of Honor. That when I first saw you guys, awesome chemistry. I saw you guys again, of course, in '05 in Asbury Park, New Jersey. What is it about you two? Is it because you train together? Is it because you're both really good and that goes together? But sometimes that doesn't always mesh. So what's the chemistry between you and Bryan Danielson?
Oh, I think I think both of us want to be the best we possibly can be. Um, I think I think he's really smart, and I think he works hard, and so I would see him as competition in the sense that not not in a um, I've got to be better than him, but I've got to be better than him in that uh, if he wasn't there, then the next hardest work in person, I would have been trying to work harder then, and I would have been screwed. I wouldn't have made it very far. Since he was so smart and since he was so driven, it gave me something to aspire towards. We both really loved wrestling. we studied it. We'd take notes. We would study film and trade film, and so yeah, I think we were both very serious about trying to be the best wrestler we could be, and admired, uh, you know, guys like Shawn Michaels who we went to, guys like William Regal who we trained with afterwards, guys like Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit that we watched on films, or Liger, or any of the Japanese stuff. Um, yeah, I could go on and on, but I think it's because we were both really driven to be excellent at wrestling.
With that, with the training with Shawn Michaels, he didn't really train, right? Much. He like it
No,
was
he
more
was there
Rudy
every day
Boy.
except one. He was there
Oh,
every day
really?
except
Okay.
one day. Yep,
In
absolutely.
in the ring or
Only,
no?
only
Not really.
in the ring, but he wouldn't take a whole lot of bumps, but he did. He would take bumps, but if somebody was going to be picking up and slamming, you know, nine of those slams would be taken by Rudy Boy. Sean might take one, might take two, but he was fresh off of back surgery,
Right.
so he shouldn't be doing it. And but he was there every day except the SmackDown debut when he was the referee. He was always there.
That give you guys a leg up in training? Like an all-time great like Dad wants to train. You know what I mean? Does that give you guys a leg up? You think?
It's again, it was another thing to motivate you. Like Brian being so hardworking. Okay, well I gotta be hardworking. There's Shawn Michaels. I gotta impress him. Yeah, I think that was I think it was huge. I he uh, taught real simple style of wrestling, the WWE style, which it becomes more and more complex when you would get into it. But just the idea of like a three-act play, sort of good guy on top, bad guy on top, good guy back on top. Um, he taught us how to do it and understand it, and Rudy put in lots and lots of hours with us physically, and um, and then he'd be there to Sean would be there to correct you when he didn't see what he thought was right, and I trusted what he thought was right because he was, I thought, the best wrestler in the world.
With you and Brian, I felt like, especially Ring of Honor, like when I'm watching, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a classic. You got to want to watch this or got to want to see these guys live. I don't even know if you'll remember, but Asbury Park '05, it's the best, the American Super Juniors tournament. Horrible weather outside. I mean, it was a trek to get there, but it's awesome. You guys are in the first round. I was like, oh my God, like what is up with this tournament? This should be the finals. I don't know if you remember that tournament at all, but it was marred with controversy, but an awesome match from you and Brian. I mean, just a, kind of a show stealer.
Oh, I appreciate that. I remember the night the Pope had died that day. Um, just because I remember uh, this our host Kathy was just so despondent. The Pope had died. Um, the weather was terrible. Dragon Soldier B won the
Yes.
championship. But my buddy and one of the greats, Jamie Noble, went out there and cut a promo about how disgraceful that was. I remember that really well. Yeah, I don't. I remember wrestling Brian and think like, oh, because it's just a match in a tournament. There's nothing special about it when I want it to be a little more special, and he's got a lot of work to do. But yeah, it's nice that you said nice things about it. I appreciate that.
It was great too, and I remember my buddy that I was there with that. We thought like, oh, okay, that'll be the finals. We don't know exactly how it's going to break down. Then all of a sudden, you're like, wait, it's going to be the new Black Tiger and Dragon Soldier B, and like, oh my God! I remember I spoke to David Marquez a few years ago. I said I got three words for you. I'm pissed at you. He goes, what? I go, Dragon Soldier B. What the hell was that, Marquez?
Yeah. Dragon Soldier B. Oh, fuck. Sorry. Yeah. Awful. Awful. Yeah.
Like obviously New Japan Power Play, even though it's the best of Super Juniors, even though it's Ring of Honor. I know Gabe was pissed, but it's like, wow, I guess they really put their foot down. It's like, no, this Kendo Kashin, Dragon Shoulder B is winning this thing.
Who didn't even go on to perform in the tournament.
Yes.
And I mean, I believe at least Rocky Romero performed in the tournament and was in this tournament. But there's somebody they could have put over. I think, if not Danielson as well. went on and wrestled in the tournament. So it was a real just goofy move that I don't know. It doesn't make sense that New Japan would have orchestrated that move to me. I don't know what happened in there, but I think somebody took advantage of there being gaps in between and there being some sort of confusion,
Yep.
and Gabe can't just go, wait a second, I smell something fishy here. Who does he? He can't then insult somebody because what if he's wrong? Uh, but yeah, something seemed real fishy about that tournament, man. Real fishy.
That was
Yeah.
awful. Thank God Aries and
Awful.
Homicide was the main event because that was awful. That was such a letdown.
Oh, was there? Oh, thank goodness. Okay, thank goodness there was
Yeah, that
there
was
was
like
some of that.
the second main event. Then the real main event that was on last was Aries defending the ROH title against Homicide. So it was like, thank God, kind of saved what could have been a disaster.
Yeah, yeah. Could have ruined the town. Yeah.
Yep. And in Asbury Park, I mean, that's great wrestling town for forever, right? Great wrestling town.
Yeah.
So, damn it, Dragon Soldier B. I love that you still remember the Dragon Soldier B without even me having to bring it up. I
Oh
love that.
yeah. Oh yeah. Dragon Soldier B. I will. Memory does fade, but that one's gonna stick around for a while. Yeah.
So, how do you get into WWE? It feels like a lot of those guys, the quote unquote smaller guys, like you said, like shorter guys, you, Danielson, it's like, oh, we're never going to get there, this land of the giants. You get there. How does like that process happen? How do you get into WWE?
I don't know. I the first time through developmental, it was through Shawn Michaels. I went to Shawn Michaels school, so it seemed like the obvious approach. That was my approach. Um, the next step, after that was try to get to Japan and find a way back to get to WWE. I get to Japan, Ring of Honor starts. I don't know if Ring of Honor was much of a threat at that point, but they Eddie Guerrero wrestled on it, super crazy. Christopher Daniels, like really good wrestlers are wrestling on these early shows. So I think I only did four of them before I got a call from WWE. Did a few tours of Japan, early Ring of Honor, and I got a call early. Um, I don't know. I didn't reapply. I must have still been in the system, but they reached out to me, and I'm glad they did.
When you get there, like, and you come back, are you thinking this is land of the giants? Or you think that's over with? Like that time is past?
Oh no, now I was terrified then. 'Cause now I've got a TV contract. This isn't a uh, developmental contract. Now I'm here with all the guys I saw on TV, and thank God I knew Regal. Um, he asked, hey, you ride with me, kid. Once I got with him, prior to that, it was Nunzio and I started on the same house show loop, and and with Paul Heyman jumped in with Nunzio, I jumped in with Nunzio and rode with them at first, or them and Rhino, and I had guys who've been around longer than I had who welcomed me in, and I did my best to just be polite. Just be polite, be quiet, yes sir, do whatever, um, try to control myself best I could, and stay the hell out of the way. And yeah, I was really lucky that those guys took me in, and later on, guys like Funaki, guys like Scotty Too Hottie, and of course, yeah, Regal.
When you're there, right, and they decide to put you with London, is that like your guys' idea that you want to be put together? That's their idea. Like, how does the team of London and Kendrick come about?
So it came about at first. I was doing nothing. I was I've been on TV, but then not really doing anything on TV anymore. On Velocity, Paul, who I knew from being out in California for a little while, um, he got a developmental deal, and so I talked to creative and said, hey, what about him and I as a tag team? Um, and he brought him up, gave it a shot. Um, we teamed for a little while. I wound up quitting, doing nothing. Paul and I teamed for a few months. It was fine. It was fun. Uh, we didn't get much of a direction or anything. Frustration grew. I went back to Japan. Um, Paul luckily landed on his feet immediately, teaming with Billy Kidman. They went on to win the tag team champions. Paul went on to win the cruiserweight champion ship. So he did real well for himself while I went off to Japan.
What promotion in Japan? Were you still doing like 0-1 or
Zero
what
one.
were you? Oh, you were doing 0-1.
Yep. Yep.
Is that when they started doing Leonardo Spanky and doing the, the jack, if you will, whatever the
Uh-huh.
heck that thing is?
Uh-huh. So I did a little bit before and then went back to it some more and yeah, they had me doing Leonardo Spank and they sure did. Yep.
Forget that line where you put they put their
King of the
arms out.
world. Yeah,
Yeah,
king of the
the
world.
world. That's great. So they're like, this guy looks like Leonardo DiCaprio. Let's call him Leonardo Spanky.
Yeah, like it's it's gonna be in the same way if you're to say like that guy kind of looks like Jackie Chan. Hey, what are you saying? Racist? Like I guess like in the sense that I look like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like I don't know, but much more so than the average Japanese person does.
Right.
Certainly more than that. Yeah. So
Yep.
that was it. I think he just has blue eyes, and so do I. Yeah.
Do you like your time in Japan? Because it seemed like highly successful tours, not only for for 0-1, but others as well. It feels like that was a good territory, if you will, for you.
Oh man, I loved it. It's you just wrestle. You just focus on wrestling. The travel. It's show up at this time down in the lobby. The bus will pick you up. What that means is be there 15 minutes earlier. That's it. Those are your responsibilities. Um, you have to find a way to do laundry. You have to find a way to, get your food and stuff. But they they get you the hotel. They get you on the bus. They get you the bus to the hotel and back and the venue and all that, and then you might have 5 days off. Now you have 5 days off in Japan and go do whatever you want. The wrestling is quality wrestling, and then sometimes they're in small, sleepy towns, um, and so the wrestling is not as dangerous, um, but you're still out there putting on a nice performance, and then you go off and do it again. I liked it. I really liked it.
What was your favorite promotion in Japan? New Japan, or would it be 0-1, or maybe another?
Oh, so I spent most of my time with 0-1. I did a few tours for New Japan, but they weren't ever consistent. I did one tour recently for Noah. Um, I've done one for All Japan. These are just spot tours. Um, that 0-1 was the one I would consistently do, um, and I loved it. Really loved it. But that was, I mean, man, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Crazy how time flies, isn't it?
It
Isn't that
really,
crazy?
it really is. Yeah.
So obviously, you end up going back to WWE. How does that go down, or how does that happen? Because you end up back there.
I think a lot of it just comes down to they're starting up the cruiserweight division. So, they're gonna start up the cruiserweight division again. They give me a call. Um, after you know, after I get there, the cruiserweight division kind of dissolves, but they put Paul and I back together as a tag team, and off we go. Um, from that we're I was doing that, and then Paul and I split. About a year and a half later, did the Brian Kendrick, and then did that for a few months, and then off I went again.
But you can't skip over the London tag team, though. You guys were tag team champs for almost a year. Kind of
Almost a
crazy.
year, yeah, yeah. It wasn't in the plans, uh, but it's just the way things worked out, and yeah, they worked out in our favor, and I think I really liked the matches that we put on together.
You guys always were kind of stealing the show, if you will. Was that something you guys set out to do? Because it always felt like, all right, they're not going to give you guys a lot of time, or they're not going to put a lot of effort into it. So you guys just screw it. We're going to steal the show and have the best match. So you have to kind of pay attention to us.
I guess it's kind of always been Paul's motto and my motto. Um, I guess if you were to watch his stuff on Velocity or my stuff on Velocity when we were both doing singles matches, We were both trying to steal the show, and it's not exclusive to us. There's a lot of guys who when given just a few minutes of time, they're going to do the best they can to try to steal the show, and they'll do it in their own different ways. Um, what you know, what Paul was able to do, is like he was real courageous in that he will risk injury to do these spectacular stunts. Um, I didn't have that. I was just fast. I was fast and I could land on my feet. Wasn't even really a high flyer. I was a fake high flyer. But if you hip toss me, I could land on my feet and put you in a backslide real quick. Um, and so that was, if put together properly, um, you can do a fast style without upsetting the generation before you who's now in charge. And really, it's the generation, two generations before you who's in charge. Um, the retired generation that's in charge. If you're able to still make it make sense to where they're not saying you're just doing a bunch of flippy garbage, then they'll allow you at least that 5 minutes, they'll allow it to you again. And so that was our goal, was to try to steal the show and to be able to do it again the next time. And to do that, you have to do it in a sensible fashion.
Were you surprised at the almost year-long title run? Because for a while, that's like the record holder for for the SmackDown Tag Champ stuff. So I mean, you guys were champs for a significant amount of time. That surprised you guys?
Um, I mean, I guess after the fact, yeah, it's not something that I'd really considered, and it's it's the like it's not the real title. You know what I mean? Like that title's been around since I've been in wrestling. Like I was trained at Sean School in the SmackDown. You know what I mean? So it's not a super old belt. It doesn't go back to Demolition didn't have those belts.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I'd also argue that Demolition was a three-man team. Were they a three-man team when they had those belts? Was it was it those kind of rules? But yeah, these are different belts, and um, it's what's nice is when it's done years and years later, people will say, "Hey, you did that," and so what that does is it allows you to have conversations still. I guess
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Yeah, it's something to talk about, and it's neat. I'm glad I did it. That's for sure, and it's funny. Yeah, it's funny and it's fun. I'm glad I did it.
It's
I'm
one for
glad
the
we did it.
resume
I'm glad Paul and I did it. Yeah.
and one for the
Yeah, one for
resume,
the
as they
resume.
say.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
When you look at it too, it's like kind of like it's like wow, these guys they're not losing the tag titles. Like does Vince like these guys? So was it something that Vince liked you guys, or what was the thought process, or did he not even communicate with you guys about like his thought process of you holding the titles for so long?
Oh yeah, I mean tag titles don't really have a. There's so much going on that I don't think the tag titles were given much thought. Uh, I think that if he were to see it and was, uh, you know, if the ratings were tanking or he looked up and saw us and just really didn't like us, they would have gotten rid of it. But I think it was just there was nothing that he was excited about at the time and was maybe complacent with it, or maybe he really did like us. I don't know, but uh, there we didn't talk with him a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot of meetings. There wasn't, hey, you guys are really killing it. I'd love it to see this. And we didn't go and approach him either. It was our fault as well. We didn't uh, be proactive when we should have and said, hey, boss, what can we do better? Uh, but either way, we wound up eking out a pretty good run out of it. Yeah.
Any sort of relationship with him at all, or no?
With Vince?
Yeah.
I mean, when I would see him, hello, sir. When when you know, not even maybe a half dozen times, sit down he and I and talk and stuff. Not the same as the top guys. Sit down and talk with him on a few occasions about things and where I wanted to go with my career. And and stuff like that. And they were serious. They were pivotal moments in my career. Those few conversations, but no, never had a cell phone number. Um, we didn't go grab beers together or anything like that. Um, it was a working relationship, but I really I loved his creation. I loved WWF so much that I wanted to do it. I love what he came up with.
With London, any sort of relationship with him now? Like, do you still talk to him at all, or are you guys buddies or no?
No, but I don't keep in contact with a lot of people. I'm just kind of an isolated person. I've got my wife here. There's a few friends that I stay in contact, but for the most part, I'm just kind of a homebody.
When you're there, right, and you guys have that long title run, after that, when they split you up, what's the explanation? Do they explain like what, like the direction and stuff? Or they don't tell you that. You just, hey, you're broken up, and we don't have creative for you just as of yet.
They they don't tell you, but I suspect it's because there's no benefit to telling you. Any sort of we want you to work on this, you would have listened to earlier, or else we wouldn't have fired you. So sometimes it's because creative has nothing for you. Sometimes it's probably other things, but there's no point in telling you. There's absolutely no point in telling you. Uh, so it's just it is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. I've been fired like that before. I imagine it's because of bad behavior, but they said creative has nothing for you. So okay.
With the Brian Kendrick, though, before that, who created the Brian Kendrick? That was cool. That was different. They're trying to make it unique. Are they trying to make it like the Heartbreak Kid? Or are you trying to make it like what's the Brian Kendrick? What was the thought process going into that?
All I wanted to was a different character. What the characters be, I don't don't really know. Uh, but my wife created the look. It's a great gear designer who made the gear. My wife made the jacket. Um, I just said any sort of theme song, please, something different. And so when I came out for the first time, it was the first time I heard it. Um, the promo, they had a promo written for me. I went to the boss and I said it to him. He said he didn't like it. That didn't sound like me. He asked me to cut a promo. I cut a promo. And he says, that's it, but you're the Brian Kendrick. So Vince came up with the Brian Kendrick. And as soon as he says, oh man, like I love that. That's the best. Uh, it's, and that was it. He told me go grab a heater, you know, and so I chose Ezekiel Jackson, um, and that was it. Vince came up with came up with get a heater. Wife came up with the with the look, and I came up with the attitude.
I was just talking to Big Rick, aka Ezekiel Jackson. He was saying that he wasn't technically, for as far as what he was told, he wasn't going to be the first choice. It was going to be Big Ryan Wilson, aka Titan, and that you wanted him. Is that how it kind of went then? You kind of picked Ezekiel.
So as far as I know, and they might have had other discussions internally, um, but the boss told me go down and 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 pick somebody. And so I'm looking through the FSW roster, and I see Rick Lawn in there, and I see Sheamus, I see all these different people, but it was gonna be between Rick Lawn and Sheamus, who hadn't made his debut yet, and but the contrast of of Rick and I, big black guy, little white guy, as opposed to big pasty white guy, short pasty white guy. The he looked like a tough, just a wonderful resting scary face. So I mean, I know I definitely said this is who I want to Vince. If there was any other internal discussions, I don't know, but that was definitely, yeah. Zeke was my choice for sure. I mean, I wanted him for sure. Yeah.
That's such a great like paradox or whatever. I mean, he is just massive. He's just
Yeah.
a giant. That just works perfectly for you because it just people just hated you because it's like, why is this big dude listening to this little guy? You know what I mean? Like, just it was perfect mix.
That's it. And it's I we never got to the point uh that um I was abusive to him. Um it, it seems like that's the natural storyline. It's just like they have a draft, they separate us. They separate us because like I'm screwing up or whatever the case may be. But uh, storyline wise, man, you can't draft him. Like, he's my bodyguard. He ain't under your contract.
Yeah.
So the whole thing's like I'm done though. As soon as he gets pulled away that way, I'm way better off for him just killing me and starting fresh. But yeah, you'd think naturally I would start to abuse him or blame him for my losses or whatever, and ultimately he becomes a babyface after he just tears me to pieces. But we never got to that point, unfortunately.
Yeah, it felt like creative kind of even he was saying it when I asked him because he was basically saying creative kind of screwed up there. They could you guys could have been a tag team for longer, could have had a
Oh yeah,
storyline together longer.
yeah,
Like there was a lot of directions to go with that team.
yeah. I think so too. I think so too. I think it could have been. I think it could have been good. I think it. Uh, I think it would have been fun to grow on the microphone. At that time at that age to be able to use the microphone a lot more and to be able to grow as a talker, I would have been great. But it didn't work out that way.
So you leave. Obviously, we were saying before you do the independence. Even meet you and Danielson, kind of PWG and stuff. You guys kind of meet up here and there. It just felt like always kind of feuding or wrestling Danielson all over the world. But then a little bit of TNA mixed in, a little bit of New Japan. So you were kind of all over the place. Ring of Honor a little bit when you came back just for a couple of shows, a cup of coffee, but they kind of bring you back again. Really, NXT is forming. So how does that happen? How do you come back again?
Well, I come back up for the Cruiserweight Classic. I mean that they brought me in for
Yep.
that. Prior to that, just some guest training at NXT. It was I think because of friendships, like because of William Regal being my mentor and 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 because of his loyalty to Triple H and Triple H's position in the company is probably why I've gotten those opportunities. It's but again, the 2016 is because of being a cruiserweight. They're starting up cruiserweights again. Okay. And so who knows, maybe it's just that's it. It's just it's the cyclical time for cruiserweights. That's why I got brought back.
The Cruiserweight Classic, that was great. Even looking back, how great it was just thinking about it.
Excuse me.
Then you win the Cruiserweight title. I mean, TJP, a ton of great guys are a part of it. But 205 Live, so you're right. There's like a cyclical thing where they just
Mm.
obviously love you, but they love the Cruiserweights every couple of years, you know?
Well, I think they think, it needs whatever. I don't know, but uh cruiserweights are kind of like the McRib of wrestling, you know. And it's just every so often we'll get our cruiserweights in the WWE, and then they disappear, and they'll be back. That's just how it goes.
If you think about it, even back to the, basically mid 90s, WCW formula, the cruiserweights would kind of keep people away from watching WWE for a while. WWF doing the Monday Night Wars. It's like the cruiserweights were like they're always kind of the glue and they kind of like to keep your eyes. So, all right, maybe it's not a storyline match, but keep the cruiserweights on. People won't flick or change the channel. And you know what I mean? It always seems like the go to. Like, we need good matches, we need good content. Let's just bring back the cruiserweights.
So w- what it allows it to also do is like with cruiserweight wrestling, we can watch it as a sport again. And so if you're watching
Yeah.
like Nitro and it's 3 hours of Nitro and you've got guys yelling and screaming at each other and now they're fighting in a parking lot, and there might be ladders and every once in a while you got like this is so far removed from what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a sport. and not a fixed fake sport. It's supposed to be a sport, and we spiral so far out of control. So your reminder that this is a sport is the wrestling, and with the chaos of everything else, you know, what can that wrestling be? How do we keep people tuned in with wrestling? Well, one way to do it is exciting wrestling. You know, super fast wrestling could do that. You know, I guess also guys like Goldberg. You know, jack guys who, you know, you don't see in real life. That'll do it too. Um, but cruiserweight wrestling is a way to still make pro wrestling seem like a sport.
When you look at too, and I forgot to bring this up, and I mentioned at the beginning though, when you look at like your career, your runs, like the cruiserweight stuff, but the scramble match in '08, they've thrown you into the world title mix. You were technically interim WWF champion. If you want to, we were talking about resume and put stuff on the resume. Technically WWE world champion there, right? I mean, technically speaking, because that scramble match.
So I'm not a former world champion, but I'm a former current world champion, if that makes any sense. And
Yes.
so I will take that distinction as a really fun little asterisk. And I guess I like, as it turns out, like little puns and goofy little factoids and stupid things like that. So it serves me right that I got that. So I'll take that. I'll take that. It's still pretty neat, you know. So former current world champion.
And it's almost like, whoa, if the match ends at this time, right? The scramble had it was like 20
Yeah.
minutes or whatever. I know Triple H ends up winning it, but if
Uh-huh.
technically speaking, if it ends here, you would have been the champ. You know what I mean? Interim wise, I mean, right? I mean,
Yep.
it was like an
Yep.
interesting match.
Yeah. It was a fun little deal, and it had guys who I really liked in it too, and Triple H, he was more like a boss and stuff. It wasn't um, so much a contemporary in the sense of, like he's sitting in meetings and stuff like that. But guys like MVP and Shelton Benjamin and Jeff Hardy, who are also in the match, like these guys who I've hung out on the road with, had great times with, a lot of fun with those guys. And now we're all in this match, and Jeff's been world champion and all that, but for MVP and Shelton and myself, like this is a really cool thing for us to be involved in. And so yeah, I'm glad I got to share that with friends.
Later on, obviously, when you're at NXT, you said good relationships with Regal and different things. Were you supposed to be a part of the performance center with Triple H and Regal and those guys? Was that like the end game? Were you going to be a coach?
Well, I wound up doing some coaching ultimately. After the lockdowns and they released everybody in mass on that first big wave in is 2020. Um, they kept me on as a producer, as a coach. I did that for a year and a half or so, and ultimately put in my release. It's really nice. It's in the sense that you get to be involved in wrestling, but what I don't get to do is wrestle while doing that. And so ultimately, I wanted to be a wrestler, and I asked for my release. I wasn't prepared to be a coach and a producer. I mean, I prepared to do it as far as doing the job itself, but I wasn't prepared to walk away from in ring, and that's what I was asked to do, and I did that out of fear of paying my bills. And about a year and a half later, I regretted it and asked for my release.
When that goes down, right? I mean, you're a coach or producer. There's no chance of in ring. They basically tell you, "Dad, those days are over." Is that like kind of
Those
what
days are
they're?
over. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. 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 And so if I were to work delivering Uber Eats, I could still be a pro wrestler. If I were to work construction, I could still be a pro wrestler. If I were to work as a priest, I could still be a wrestler, or a stripper or a cop. I could still be a pro wrestler. But if I work as a pro wrestling trainer and a pro wrestling producer for the WWE, I can no longer be a pro wrestler. And so that was hard for me because that's all I'm doing is helping people do this thing that that I do, and anybody can be a pro wrestler, but only I can, you know, wrestle my match. I want to wrestle my match.
And it felt like a bit young too, like to be put in that role. It's almost like, hey, I still got more to give here. I want to wrestle.
I felt so. I mean, my contemporaries are still in there right now,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I felt so, um, and yeah, yeah, it it didn't sit right with me.
Any misconception on there with AEW, like you were signed and then not signed? Like what like there was a big misconception, right, about that?
I don't know what's the misconception.
Like what? How did like what happened? How did that go down? It was basically they you were hired then not basically.
Uh, Yes. So I was hired. I had two contracts. I had a coaching contract and a wrestling contract. I show up to debut. I'm in my gear. I'm gonna wrestle against John Moxley, opening contest. And about an hour and a half beforehand, I get a call from their lawyer, and their lawyer said that it had resurfaced an old video, Brian Kendrick's conspiracy theories, which was on filmed for High Spots 9 years prior, and so they didn't like the stuff that I talked about. It was an embarrassment towards the company, and they asked me to leave the building. Um, and so I left the building. I met with a lawyer back in Orlando 2 days later, and they said, "We'll figure out what we can do, but maybe nothing." And 3 months later, they let me go. I wasn't getting paid during that time. Was reaching out to different lawyers that worked there. Uh, Finally, I got to a hold of somebody who had no idea what was going on, so I started to get paid one of my two contracts. I wasn't allowed to make a statement at this. Well, not allowed. Is it fair to say? I might have been in breach of contract though if I were to have made any sort of statement that wasn't provided or approved by them at the time. And so I just sat for 3 months, and as my stomach rotted, and everybody, yeah, was afraid to work with me. And so that's it. Now I work shows internationally.
Crazy. Like if you kind of think
It is
about it, it's like
crazy.
silly. It's like really.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It was words said a long time ago. No violent actions. No criminal. No, yes, yes, it is. But I don't own the cameras. You know, and so that's it. There's people who've done far worse things. Yes, but they like those people. People like those people. I might not be the most likable person, you see, John. So that's it. The right people don't like me, and if they did, I'd be okay. And that's that. That's where we're at. So that's
Any,
why
in,
I'll be in Australia coming up,
yeah.
and then
But
after
hey,
that, yeah,
that's a
yeah,
great
and
place. That's
that's
where
where
my brother-in-law is from Australia. So
yo,
it's a beautiful place.
it's a beautiful place, and so is Chile, and so is the UK, and so is Manila, and so this is where I'll be going. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot about life wrestling the midgets, and I get to see the world doing that too. And so this is what's come of it. But yeah, when you say it seems silly, it does seem silly, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Seems a little crazy. Any interest in going back to WWE? Is that something like ever on your radar? Is it something that you would like to do, like before it's all said and done?
Like if they're interested in hiring me as a professional wrestler, I would love that. That would be fantastic. It's not a dream in the sense that dream would be some sort of like goal, something like that I'd be striving towards. Uh, or like a dream is just like some sort of ridiculous thing, but like it's not a goal of mine. I don't have a At this point I don't have any goals or aspirations to get to any of the major companies in the United States. Um, the best I can do is just try to be the best wrestler in the world, and hopefully I can go and be the best wrestler in the world, and then at some point, uh, hopefully people see that. People maybe will like what I do as a performer. Maybe that'll help these indie promotions draw well. You know, um, but no, I'm I have no aspirations to go to any of these major companies. They've seen it to be too embarrassing to be connected or associated with me. So yeah.
Crazy. I think it's
Yeah.
crazy, but
Well, thank
that's
you.
just one man's opinions here, but it's crazy.
Thank you.
So as we hit the wind down here, head towards the finish, I got to ask you this because I just thought it was hilarious. Just the Kabuki masks in WWE and London.
Oh,
Vince, did he not get it? Did he not like it? Like, what? You guys had them, and then they were in the video. I mean, they're in the they're in the opening. They're in your intro. What happened?
okay. So, John, when you asked earlier about, like, how much input did Vince have in your matches,
Yeah, yeah,
you're talking about, like, and so we didn't really have many discussions with him. We we lost those masks when we showed up to work one day, and they said one of the agents, it might have been IRS, it could have been Arn Anderson, it could have been Johnny Ace, it could have been any one of them, but was sent the message to say, hey guys, you can't wear the masks anymore. Huh? Like the boss, he doesn't want you wearing the masks anymore. What happened? Well, he saw you guys wearing the masks, and so what the hell are those guys doing wearing masks? And they, it's get rid of the masks. And so that was it. So that's the first time he saw us wear the masks, John, is when we did those masks. I'm guessing we were tag champs at the time. I think
yeah.
we've been wearing those for a while. In fact, my wife, I think, made 4 different iterations of masks. That's how many different masks. That's how long we've been wearing the masks. Get rid of the mask. What are these guys doing? Wear a mask. So, like when I say like, I don't think tag team was the primary concern. I think maybe that's why we kept it for a while. That's it. If you would have seen one of these tag teams that had the look and then went out there and could work, they would have had the belts quicker. But that's just where it was. Whether there was punishments involved or whatever sort of circumstances, injuries. We That's how Paul and I wound up from that with them that long, and that's why we got rid of them.
That's so funny. It's like these guys are wearing masks. Yeah, Vince, they've been wearing masks for a long time. Well, get rid of them. Like, how the hell did he not notice? Oh my god!
Because he wasn't watching our matches. I mean, he
Wow.
might have been watching the matches, but like, here's the entrance. But that means he didn't watch us run down to the ring, do the backflip, do any of this.
Yep.
Seen Ashley take the masks off. I mean, Ashley took the masks off. It got to the point where so yeah, we had him for a little while. Yeah. it's
Come
just
on,
it's a,
Vince. Yeah.
that's the reality of it, though. I mean, like, this guy's also got a lot cooking, though. Besides running Raw, running SmackDown, these other shows. There's these international deals, international tours, movies that he's trying to do, a wife in politics. Like, he's got a lot on his mind. So like, I get when they SmackDown tag team guys. Like, I can see why it's not, the biggest concern.
That's just so fun. It's like typical Vince, where supposedly he could forget something a week later, like, oh, that was on TV. Like, that's just so bad on his part. Come on, Vince.
This is why I'm giggling, because it reinforces, yeah, a stereotype, or like the myth of Vince. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, geez,
But that is
Louise.
true. But it is true. That's why we got rid of the masks, because they saw us wear the masks.
I could see him with his glasses, right? And he's doing that thing where he puts it down the end of his nose, like, putting the glasses down, like, what's going on with these Kabuki masks? I don't like these masks. Like, Vince, they've had them for a year. I don't like them.
Oh, I wanna make something clear, John. I don't think anybody told him they've had him for a year. My suspicion is, oh, you're right, boss. I'm guessing they
Right.
acted. I'm guessing
Even
they
worse.
acted like it was the first time they saw it too. That'd be my suspicion. Yeah.
That is so bad. Oh, my God.
Anyways,
Oh, my God. So,
he's a genius, and he's a genius, and I adore what he's created. So,
right, right.
that is the truth. Yeah.
But there is like the duality of a man. It's like he's a genius, but then he's also not paying attention.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So we've talked about it before, but what's up with you next? Like, what are you going to be doing, and where are you going? Just tell us again.
Yeah, all my stuff will just be my dates are on Mr. Brian Kendrick on Instagram. That's the only thing I have. Just Mr. Brian Kendrick, Brian with an I. Going to Australia coming up for MXW. Um, gonna be in Geelong and Horsham and Ballarat. Going to Cairns for Pro Wrestling Power. Gonna be like I said, out in the UK for Full Force and Brick King Pro. Yeah, bouncing around the world. Yeah,
And you are being well traveled. You're all over the place. I love
I'm
it.
very
But Brian,
lucky. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. Yeah.
Brian, I know you have Spanky. So Spanky, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate this.